Welcome to this tutorial on how to write JavaScript arrays in 3 different ways. So I have a folder that I've created here, and I also have a JavaScript folder. The next step I'm going to take is to create a HTML document. Okay, so I would right click on the root directory here and choose new file, and I'll simply call this index.html. And I'm going to load the boilerplate by doing Shift 1, and I'm going to hit enter, and it loads the basic elements for me. So I can now get started. I will have to change this title to something more relevant to what I'm doing. So I'm going to remove document, and I'm going to say learning JavaScript arrays. Okay, so after this, I would have to create a JavaScript file. I already have a folder here that says JS. I would right click on JS folder and choose new file as well. And I will call this arrays.js. Now what I must do at this stage is to link my JavaScript file to the HTML document. And it's best you do it on the body section as the last thing, so that it will be the last thing loaded within the HTML document. So I'm going to write script element like that, and I'm going to choose this one that has the source directory. So right here I would reference my JavaScript file, and remember my JavaScript file is within a folder called JS, so I'll have to reference the JS folder first before calling on the file. So I'm going to say JS/arrays, and you can see it pops out right there. So I hit enter and I save my changes. So I would need to see the result of the codes I'm writing in JavaScript on the browser. So because of that, I would have to right click on the HTML file and copy path. And now I'm going to go to my browser, and I'm going to right click on the address bar, then paste and go. And after this, I would have to right click here and choose inspect and choose console. Now I am ready to start writing my JS codes. So back to VS Code and on the JavaScript file. Here's the first one we're going to do. We're going to use the literal method to write a JavaScript array. And after that, we are going to use the constructor method, and finally we are going to use the static method. All right, let's get started with this. So let's just say that I want to make an array of the books I am currently reading. So I'm going to make a constant, and if you choose to use a variable, in this case, that is very fine. So, but I'm going to stick with a constant, and I'm going to say that study lists, and I will have to simply make a square bracket, open and close, and add my semicolon there. So I can now begin to add the values that I want to populate this array with. So it might be best when you want to add lengthy values, it might just be best for you to split this down. So I'm going to press the enter key, and now I make a quote since what I want to write is a string. So I'm going to say that I'm currently studying the monk who sold his Ferrari. And after that, I'm also going to add here that I'm studying sell like crazy. Quite a title. Let's add one more. Let's just say that I am studying the Holy Bible, right? So I have 3 different things there that I'm studying, and if I wish to check this out on the console, I could do console.log, and I'm simply going to pass in study list. And when I check out my browser by refreshing, I'm going to see an array of 3 values. Awesome. Now let's check out this way of doing this thing on using the constructor method. So right over here, I'm going to make a different array. And how do I write an array using the constructor method? So the constructor is something that creates a new object from a class. So a class is something that has to do with object-oriented programming. It's a general concept in computer programming. So people simply refer to it as OOP. Okay, so OOP means object-oriented programming. So in OOP, you would usually have classes. So classes are much like the blueprint, they are much like the blueprint of an object. So from a class, you can then be able to create an object. All right, so we will have to create an object from a class. All right, so now in this case, we would have to be dealing with the array class. So this array is a class. Remember, you are not going to write it like this. If you do, you're going to find an error. So that is not a class. This is a class. So what am I trying to do? I need to make a new object out of this class. So how do I make a new object? All I have to do is to prefix this with the keyword of new, but they will have to be separated. So by doing new array, I am actually making a new object. This is called a construct. So, but that is not all. At the end here, I have to add bracket, open and close. So whatever this array generates, I wish to store it to a constant. And I'm going to say that the name of the constant is temperature. Let's say that I'm trying to record or store average temperatures for the past 3 days. Daily average temperatures for the past 3 days. All right, so let's just say that average temperature was 22 on day 1, 22 degrees Celsius, and on the other day it was 19, and then it rose again all the way to 23. So what have I done? I have made an array that holds 3 values. So if we wish to check this out, once again, we will have to do console.log, and we're going to pass in average temperatures. Now I would check this out on my browser. Let's see what that gives us. So I'm going to refresh, and there we go. So we have an array with 3 values. So now let's look at the static method of creating JavaScript arrays. So what I'm going to do here, once again, is to decide what I want to make an array of. So in this case, I'm going to write an array that holds the different programming languages that I currently code in, right? Okay, so what I could do is to say let's call this my coding languages. So I'm going to just say lang, all right? And how do I make this array using the static method? All I have to do is to say array. So I'm actually still calling on the array class, but this time I'm calling an object out of this class. So usually an object in JavaScript is something. How you know that something is an object is when you do something followed by you reference something, then you follow it with a dot, then after the dot you called on something like me, and then you now ended it with bracket open close. This is a method, all right? But if I run this, it's going to give me an error because me doesn't exist. So what I was trying to do to make my array is off. So by saying array.of, so off is a method. So by the time I populate off with the different values that I'm trying to make, I would have my array. So over here, I'm going to begin to add my languages. So I'm going to say JavaScript, and I am going to say again Python, So Python, and let's add one more, SQL. All right, so I got it. Remember, this method, the of method, can take an infinite number of arguments. So that means you can continue to add as many arguments as you want. So this is an argument, all right, just to be clear. That is an argument, this is an argument. So each of these things are argument. So you can add an infinite number of arguments, just as much as you want. So now I am going to check this out. So I would comment this out, and over here I'm going to do a console.log, and I'm going to pass in my coding lang, and right over there I refresh, and there we go. Thank you for joining the lesson.